Okay, so Wolverine, one of the most iconic X-Men, Mr. Weapon X, the man with one of the most incredible healing factors and those adamantium claws. Now, as we all know, Wolverine by now got his claws and his adamantium skeleton through the Weapon X program, and William Stryker, who basically through some terrible systems infused his skeleton with adamantium, making him pretty much indestructible and unstoppable. But what happens when the one man who basically is Wolverine's kryptonite as of a point decides that he has had enough of Wolverine and his metal body? What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to cover how Wolverine lost and basically regained his adamantium skeleton, and what happened to him when basically he just had regular bones. Okay, let's jump into it. Okay, so we have to go back to 1993. I was just a wee tiny one. I did not know this about this story till later on in life. The story is called Fatal Attractions, and around this time was actually the 30th anniversary of the X-Men in the comics. Now, we're going to skip a little bit of the details and get straight to the juicy part of this comic. Magneto is at it again. He's attacking things, doing things with his acolytes. During the battle on the Avalon, the X-Men attempt to stop Magneto. Wolverine nearly gets to Magneto, and in retaliation, pissing Magneto off, let's just say, he decides to rip the adamantium out of Wolverine's body, pretty much almost killing him. As you can imagine, Professor X was outraged, wipes Magneto's mind, basically turning him into a comatose victim. But what happens to Wolverine? Well, Wolverine himself did not turn into a pile of goo, which meant that his bones themselves were not made of adamantium, they were just cased in it. So, he had this healing factor, which was incredible, probably one of the only reasons he was originally able to be fused with the adamantium, and if it wasn't for a bit of Jean Grey's telekinesis helping him stay alive, Wolverine would have died then. Kind of only was in this situation for about an issue and a half, and then he healed and he was Wolverine once again, but this time no more no more adamantium, just bone and bone claws. So due to this, there was a few changes in the Wolverine character. Due to him being held down by all this metal, he was in fact faster and stronger than he was before. Kind of like when Piccolo used to take off his training armor, and basically Logan had taken off his adamantium armor. It also turns out that the adamantium itself was toxic in his body, and his healing factor was always fighting this, which in doing so was stunting his mutation. However, now that there was no metal in there, his mutation went into overdrive, and we got some changes. Now, before the changes happened, I think they did try and rebond the adamantium to him, and he rejected it, or his body rejected it. In fact, this made him turn feral. Somehow he lost his nose. This version of Wolverine was an interesting looking beast, very feral, and it went on for a few years. But now, luckily, comic books have this amazing power called retconning, or if they're not happy with anything, they can just bring the status quo back in place. And this ended up having to happen with Wolverine because readers weren't happy with this version of him, and they wanted the original Wolverine back. So, how did they get Wolverine back to Adamantium Man? Well, they bring in Apocalypse, one of the OG mutants, arguably the first mutant. We can go into that one another time. He basically agrees to fuse Wolverine back with the adamantium if he becomes one of his horsemen. Now, at this point in time, Wolverine had been replaced by a Skrull, so no one knew this was going on, which is another side story, but basically, he's been approached by Apocalypse. He originally declines the offer, but then finds out that Sabretooth is the other person that Apocalypse has approached to become one of his horsemen. And because they don't get along, and as they would, they decide, no, we'll fight for it. Or Apocalypse convinces them basically to fight for it. Now, at this time, Sabretooth actually had adamantium in his body himself. which I completely forgot was a thing. And Wolverine ends up actually being able to defeat Sabretooth in this battle, and in doing so, becomes the Horseman of Death for Apocalypse. Unfortunately for Sabretooth, Apocalypse uses his adamantium to basically get it back into Logan's body and fuse it in, and here we have it. He's back to where he was before. Now, Wolverine's safety plan was thinking that he was strong enough, or his healing factor was strong enough, to basically ignore the mind control of Apocalypse. Unfortunately, he couldn't, and he became a horseman. He carried out multiple missions, doing a lot of bad stuff, as you do as a horseman of Apocalypse. Turns out he needed the help of the X-Men to free him. Once they found out what was going on, that their Wolverine was a Skrull, and this was the original one, they all teamed up and freed him. And yeah, there you go. Wolverine was back with the X-Men, back with his adamantium. All it took was Magneto ripping all his adamantium out, and Apocalypse doing him a favor and taking it back. And yeah, that was the 90s for you guys. Yeah. So let me know what you think about this. I know in X-Men 97, they're going down the lines of this comic with the adamantium getting ripped out. If you read the Feral Wolverine lines, what did you think of this? Especially with the no-nos, interesting artwork. Yeah, and then, yeah, we brought him back, obviously. Wolverine being such a popular character, you kind of had to bring him back to what he was, kind of like with the Superman. You can't stay dead for too long, sorry. So, yeah. Well, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, give us a like. Stay tuned for more weird nerd-related stuff. Thank you very much.